Boise fans, thank you for tuning into my little podcast. Today I have a good friend that loves music just as much as I do. Rocky has played in some great bands throughout his career, including his current band, the Borstalboys. He also created music from the 412, which is something that we'll get into later in our chat. Please welcome Rocky Lamonde. How are you doing, Rock?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Paul.
Of course, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and uh, I'm happy to be back again. So I like to always start out from the beginning. Um, I personally feel very adamant that I was born to rock. Like I just know that when I was born, it was my destiny to rock and roll. Tell us about when you really in the beginning when you really felt like music was your thing.
Um, I guess when I was younger, I was always into music and things like that. And I was in eighth grade, and I grew up with all the guys around me were older than me, about 4 or 5 years older than me, and they were all playing music. And I wanted to do. I dug going out to shows and watching those guys play, and it was the '80s, and it was a good time. People were enjoying themselves, watching bands and things like that. So I really wanted to play, and actually, one of my best friends, Tommy Oceanic, who played bass in a bunch of bands around town. I wanted to play guitar. He was like, "Your fingers are too fat. You need to play bass." So I went and I started playing bass, man, and I started learning. And I went to Kappa, which is a creative and performing arts school here in Pittsburgh, and just started playing. And I just love music. I always loved music, and playing live was cool because it was nice to see people. They enjoy themselves when they listen to music and things like that. So just because it touched people in different ways. It touches people in different ways, but you could tell people really enjoyed music, and I liked doing that.
Good. So, do you play other instruments, or do you just still play bass?
I could play a little guitar, and I could play piano. Nothing that I would go up on stage and play live for somebody, but I could write a song on guitar and write a song on piano.
Right.
But I don't think I could play live. I don't
So I
think I
have a
could pay for that.
yeah, I have a story. So Ryan Roxy, the Alice Cooper's guitar player, he and I have been friends for a long time. And usually, whatever market that I'm living in, or it doesn't even matter which market it is actually, but there's times where he'll call on me and say, "Hey, let's do some kind of promotion, whether it would be a meet and greet out in the parking lot or a meet and greet at a record store, music store, whatever." And one year, I think it was 2016, he said, "Let's do a concert." And I was struggling with my personal life, and um, I went ahead and booked the show, but I didn't have any venue or any of that stuff. And when he gave me the instructions, he says we need a good enough opening band to let us use their equipment. So I reached out to every single person that I knew in Pittsburgh, and one guy, Steve Cornelius,
Yes.
um, he had said, "You got to talk to Rocky. He's the man. He's the man." And you turned out to be the man, and we've been friends ever since.
Yep.
First, I would like to say, how the hell do you know Steve Cornelius?
I played with Steve, with Dominic Fusca. I can't even remember the name of that band back then, but we played a bunch of shows together, and I've known Steve a long time, just through the music, playing music around Pittsburgh and things like that. But I think Dominic Fusca introduced him to me because I ended up playing in a band with Steve.
Right. It's kind of funny because he was a die. I would help. I was helping his band and actually Dominic's band, the Voodoo Wagon, or
That's who I
yeah,
played with. Voodoo.
yeah. Well, it was after you because what's
It
his
was
name?
probably before me. You probably worked with him before I got into the band.
Okay. So then, um, so it turns out I was helping them, and I would show up at the New York Rangers jerseys at the shows, and Steve would have a heart attack. And
Yeah.
then one time we made a bet, and I lost, of course, but he and I went to New York City and partied. Him and Howie, I believe it was Howie. The three of us went to New York City and watched the game up there, and it was a pretty wild time. But that first Goon Squad show, the first Alice Cooper band show, uh, was at Moondogs, and it was quite a party until the cops showed up and
Yes.
kicked us out.
Yeah, it's too loud. It was too much
Yeah,
rock and roll for Blawnox.
yeah. So, out of all the three shows that we've done, which one do you think is your favorite and why?
I'm gonna say the third one, the Subalpine
Yeah,
Club. The first one was really cool at Moondogs. It was packed. All of them were actually packed. Um, I think the Subalpine was cooler because it was a little bit bigger of a venue. The stage was bigger, so there was more room and things like that on stage. I had a blast at all three of them, actually. But I would say if I had to pick one, it would be the Subalpine Club show.
I agree. I think I think it was pretty exciting having Alice's daughter there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody was just having a blast. They invited everybody on stage for Schools Out, and it was just an epic moment. And it seems like every time that that anniversary comes up on Facebook, everybody's posting it and saying how much fun it was. So I think that was the most successful one, I think.
I agree. And after that one, COVID hit and screwed everything up.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
And ironically, there is a day off before the Pittsburgh White Zombie and Alice show, but he's been touring in a bubble, and I don't think we're going to be able to get make it happen again. But
I don't
hopefully, he may.
understand this bubble thing. We should be way past this bubble thing.
We
You know,
should, but the irony is there's still, I mean, Alice is in the 70s. Like I wouldn't want to be around a bunch of people like that either.
why
But
not? You just take it in, man. You got to get it in your body.
yeah,
It's called vaccinating yourself.
yeah. So when you're listening to music, you're on on your daily thing, just your personal music. What exactly like tickles you? What exactly uh, makes you feel really good? Like if you're having a bad day, what is your go-to music uh, that makes you happy?
I mean, it's always the faces for me. Basically, though, I listen to everything anymore. I don't really turn on one thing or another. I spend a lot of time listening to new stuff to put on my station. Is really what I've been doing recently for over the last year. It takes up all my time. I just every day I'm downloading new songs from people that they send me, putting it on the radio station or downloading videos and putting them on the video station, watching the station to make sure it's running right and things like that. So, but if I had to pick one band, and I'm sure you know, I've told everybody it's my favorite band is the Faces. So I would have to say the Faces.
What exactly is it about Faces? Because I liked Faces, but I wouldn't consider them like one of my favorite bands. What attracts you that makes you them think that that's your favorite band?
Everything about them. They're the greatest rock and roll band ever. The greatest rock and roll singer ever is Rod Stewart, without a doubt. It broke up and it was a band. The Faces were a band, and then everybody went off to do their own thing. Rod Stewart did his solo career. Ronnie Wood went to the Faces. Ian McLaughlin, all those guys. They played with the Stones. But at that point in time, they were rock and roll. It was the essence of rock and roll is what the Faces were. If you ever watch a live video shows of the Faces, and you can't get any more rock and roll than that. I love the songs because it's kind of music I'm into mainly. The Faces, Stones, that kind of stuff. But just the way they acted on stage, they dressed. They were sharp. They looked good. They interacted with each other. They were always smiling, always giving each other hugs while they're playing. and it was an energy, and I guess it's just everything about them.
Yep. So when, because you would understand this because you, like you just got done saying about for your music from the 412, you get tons of music and stuff. And when I used to do a music magazine, and I would go to the post office and I'd get about like 50 to 70 CDs a day, and wanting me to review them or whatever. And there's no way you can sit there and listen to every single one of them. Like, there's just no way. And you sort of thumb through all the press releases and stuff and the press kits and stuff, and you look for something cool, and then you know those stood out, so you would listen to it. Um, so you would listen to that CD over something that was just plain Jane or whatever. And it's sort of not fair because if you love music, you're going to want to listen to them all, but you just can't. And do you really listen to everything that comes in on your show?
So I download it. So as I'm downloading it, I'm listening to it. If things don't come in
Right.
CDs no more, so they're on your computer, you download it. If someone sends a whole album, I'll listen to like the first track, and by the time the vocals start, if I dig it, I'll listen to the whole song.
Right.
If I'm not into it, um, I still put it on the station unless it's something that isn't that great. But if they're playing, because I'm doing it to support original music in Pittsburgh, and so it's a little different from the radio station to the video station because I play only local bands on the video station or people who are from Pittsburgh. So, like, I play Buck Cherry because Keith Nelson's from Pittsburgh. If
Right.
someone is from Pittsburgh, I'll play them on the video station. On the radio station, I play nationals as well. So I'm basically picking the nationals that I want to play, and then other DJs pick the nationals that they want to play. But
Right.
on my shows, it's more of a rock and roll show. The heavier shows is Bill's show, or Doc Rock does a metal show on the station. Um, I usually know within the first song if I like the band or not.
Right.
Probably I make it to the first chorus, and if I find it okay, this isn't that bad, I listen to the second song, and then and if it's good, if it keeps getting better, then I keep listening. But if it's something that I know it's done well and it sounds good and it's done well, then it still gets added to the station. But if it's not something I'm into, I won't listen to the whole thing.
Right. So let's step back a step and describe music 41 from the 412, and describe what the video in the radio station is all about.
Well, both of them are run 24 hours a day. The radio station, it just plays 20. We have DJs on the radio station. We have Bonnie Diver. Bill does a show. We have John Ballistic does the underground. Mike Metzger does It's About to Get Interesting. And we also have the Psychic Subway. And they all do their own shows. Mike Metzger's more into rockabilly, old school blues, rockabilly kind of thing. The underground show is underground. It's heavier. Doc Rock's metal show is a heavy metal show and heavier music. And Bill's show is heavy as well. Mine is straight rock and roll. But I mean, it's just a lot of local music. So we play nationals on the radio, but we also include a lot of original local bands. The whole thing is about supporting original music because it just seems anymore that everybody goes to see cover bands and tribute bands, and original music is forgotten about, or it isn't given its fair share. So that's why I started this station, was to give original artists and people who are doing their own material a place to play for people to get. I mean, the other day I went and I did a show, and it was nice because 4 or 5 people came up to me and said, "Hey man, I really appreciate what you're doing." Because I mean, there's bands I would have never known of until I watched the station, which makes me feel good because that was the whole point, is getting, you know, with me as well. I've been playing music since late '80s in Pittsburgh. When I started this station, I thought I knew everybody in Pittsburgh,
Right.
but after I started the station, there's so many bands that I had no idea existed, and a lot of bands I really loved. And then there's also bands that ain't my thing, but they're really good. So I'm trying to push all that. But the video station runs 24 hours a day as well. It's a Roku channel. You can watch it on Roku. We have 2 Roku channels. One is an on-demand that plays all of our shows. So you can pick any show that we have recorded and you can watch them. And then I have a live station, which is, I basically program it every day, put videos in, put 1-hour shows in, and do things like that. We have people sometimes that come in and we do like a VJ thing on that as well. But you can get it on the website. You can get it on Roku. You can get it on Amazon Fire TV. So it basically is. It's like MTV for Pittsburgh, but it isn't limited to Pittsburgh. There's bands from Ohio, West Virginia. And I even play, if people send me stuff from another city, I even play that stuff as well. Usually it's because they know somebody in Pittsburgh or they have a member from Pittsburgh or they've heard of the station. So, basically the whole goal of the station is to promote original music and try to at least get it out there for people to see.
I have to say that when you first started it, and I turned on the TV station for the record, it's www.musicfromthe412.com,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
And then, so you go on the website and you can click on the link and it goes directly in, you enlarge it to your screen, and then you just sit there and watch music and surprisingly, they're all from Pittsburgh. Most of them, like you just said, were all from Pittsburgh. And the irony of it is they are all really, really good. Whether it's your type of music or not, it's still quality music. I was really, really impressed. And then the whole graphics and everything, you have a really nice production crew. They are incredible. I'm really, you sent me the video for the Noisy Mama thing, the girl that did it. I was so impressed with it. I was like really pleased with it. So like, hats off to you. I think you're doing a great job. I know, know you personally to know that you get frustrated and stuff, but you can't give up because what you're doing is a great thing. And anybody that's watching this right now needs to tune in and check it out because it is really cool. And you kind of remind me of me when I was younger. It's like you love music enough that you're going to go through all this trouble and all this chaos and frustration and stuff. And it is hard. It's not easy, but you do it simply for the one reason. It's for the music. And like you said, cover bands are a dime a dozen, and it's like if I wanted to hear AC/DC, I want to go see AC/DC. I don't want to go see somebody trying to be like AC/DC, but I was really, really impressed, and I encourage anybody that's watching this to definitely tune in to music from the 412, and then. I know you do your own programming as well. You have your own program. It's sort of like a late night. It's sort of like a David Letterman type thing, but with music. And I know that when I saw that you had Samantha Fish as a guest, I was like, oh my! I was like, I know he's on top of the world.
Yes, I was. It was awesome.
Tell us about your show, the Rocky. What is it? Rocky's
Rocky's
Rock and Roll Symphony.
It's a show that I do, and I have an artist on. Sometimes I have an artist and an acoustic act on the same show, and sometimes it's just the artist. They play 4 or 5, maybe 6 songs, and I interview them, and that's basically it. So I in my studio, I set up a place where I can do interviews, like a couch for them to sit, desk for me. And I just talk about their songs, how they write their songs, how they got into music, kind of like we're doing here, the normal questions, and try to, shed some light on the recording process as well, because I'm really into that. I've been an engineer my whole life, and So I like to talk about that, who produced the album, how they came about writing songs, how the process in which they write a song, because I really like that. So I mean, that's kind of where my show is, and I pick all the artists for my show. Like I said, there's a ton of bands, but for my show, it's the artists that I like. So if you see somebody on my show, my personal show, it's someone that I'm into. I won't have an artist on my show that I'm not into. Even if they're really good, I'm not going to have them on it because it's my show. You know what I mean? I'm putting my time in it. It's my thing. So that's how I do my show. Other people do their own shows and they have different artists. Jazz has a show and stuff like that. But that's basically it. I mean, they play live. I do an interview with them, and we put it out. I'm on episode. We did 14 the first season. I've released 2 already in the second season, and the third one's coming out, and that's the one with Noisy Mama. I had Paul on, Paul, right?
Paul and Tommy.
Paul and Tommy, yes, the drummer Tommy and Paul had them on. They did acoustic. Wait till you see that. That's some funny shit right there.
I'm nervous about that.
They're playing one song, and the microphone just falls over while they're playing.
Oh no!
And I'm like, I thought they were going to stop and we were just going to start the song over. They just kept going. I'm lifting the microphone up, and they just kept going. And they're like, "No, leave it. We like it." So
no.
that's what the one.
I hope it sounds all right.
Oh, you're definitely going to hear a thump when the microphone hits the ground. But
yeah,
those guys are awesome. I like those guys a lot. I can't wait to actually hang out, party with those guys, and play with them.
It is going to be a party.
Yes,
I will tell you that. So, you didn't answer my question. Were you pinching yourself when you interviewed Samantha Fish?
Yes. Okay. So what happened with that is they were coming into town to play a show at Jurgles. They got into town. They drove straight into town from wherever city they were the night before. Drove right to the Vault, where we recorded that show at the Vault. That's the only show that I didn't do at my place. We did at the Vault. I had Jimmy Hoyson, who's a Grammy winner. He engineered it and stuff like that. And but they showed up at like 10 in the morning, straight off of coming right out of their cars or whatever. We set up in the studio, and we had till 2 in the afternoon to get the thing done. Okay, we didn't start recording until about 12:30. And they were done, and it was like 1:45.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And I still didn't do the interview. And so I kind of rushed the interview. So I wasn't happy. It came out all right. I wish I had more time and we could have relaxed, but they had to get out of there too.
Sure.
So we didn't set up the lavs and stuff like that, like the lavalier microphones and stuff. So we were holding microphones, and you could hear the mic hitting someone because they're putting the mic down on their lap and things like that. But it turned out to be a good interview. I wish I would have had more time on the interview to sit there and talk about other things, because there was more things I wanted to ask about. But I really dig those guys. And Jessie Dayton, it turned out, I've met Samantha a couple times, and she's really cool, very nice. Jessie Dayton ended up being a really cool guy and really interesting. I mean, he's played with like, oh my God, he's played with like old country guys, and he's also played with like metal guys, and it was such a wide variety, or of music. He total country to hard metal, and he's a New Orleans guy, Memphis guy, and plays on a bunch of studio stuff. And he was just a very interesting guy to talk to. I really wish I sat and talked to him for like 40 minutes in the one room while we were setting up and stuff. And I really wish I would have got that on. I would have recorded that, because that was really the best conversation that I had. It was way better than the interview that I did with him, but it's just the way it is. I didn't realize he was that cool. You know what I mean? Sometimes you meet a bigger artist and things like that, and he was just really down to earth. She is as well, but I already knew she was because I met her a couple times already. But Jessie Dayton was a fantastic guy, and I dig them. And they were nominated for a Grammy, actually. They lost to Larkin and Poe. I don't know if you know who those ladies are.
Yep.
But it was a cool show. And I got a bunch of cool people to work on it. Bob McCutcheon at the Vault, and like I said, I had Jimmy Hoyson come in, and he was glad to because he loves Samantha Fish as well.
Right.
You took me to a Samantha Fish show
Yes,
in
I did.
Ohio, I believe. Was it Ohio?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that was a great show, and she was playing with two or three really big blues acts that night.
Yep.
I'm a huge fan of Samantha Fish.
Yep. I know
And I
you
think
are.
anybody should go check out that show that I did with her because there's some really cool stuff,
Yep.
on it.
And like I said, I'm really impressed with the production and stuff. You got a really nice production crew. So
Yeah.
let's talk about. So you've been in a lot of bands over the years, and you've played at the. And correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody had told me that you were like the house band at the Decade. Let's start with the Decade, and tell us like for people that aren't from Pittsburgh that doesn't realize what a monumental venue that was. Start with the Decade.
The Decade, it's first club I ever played. I played there when I was 16 years old. It was a legendary bar. This was in the 80s. During the 70s is really when it got all the huge acts like U2 came through there. Bon Jovi was there. The Romantics. Bruce Springsteen came through there. He didn't play there as Bruce Springsteen, but he came a couple times and played with the Iron City House Rockers. Bon Jovi came and played with Norman, and but there was a ton of bands. The Police played there. Small club, it's always jam packed. I played there constantly. At first, when I was 16, I was playing in a cover band, but we did we started out with 3 originals, 5, 8. But I mean, you did your dues. You played on a Wednesday or a Tuesday or something like that, and more people you brought, then you got a Thursday, and then if you did really well, then you ended up on the weekends. I played there a ton. I wasn't the house band, but I played there a ton when I was in a band called Torn and Frayed. We did really well there, and I think it was 1992 maybe. We won like the Graffiti Rock Challenge, which was a big deal, and we started doing lots of shows there. So we were probably there once a month. I mean, I probably played the Decade once a month for 15 years. And I mean, I was there, and then I ran sound at the Decade for a long time, probably 6 years. I was running sound there, and a couple of years after the Decade closed, when it became a different club and stuff like that. But the Decade was legendary. It was where you went to see a band. Now there's 100 different clubs, and there's 2,000 artists.
Right.
And any day you can go out and see literally 10 different shows in 10 different places. At that time, there was probably maybe 6 clubs, like one in Oakland, one in the South Side, one in the South Hills, one in the North Hills. And it was a place where you went no matter who was playing. Like nowadays, I think people go to a club to see that particular band. Then it was the scene of I'm going to the Decade. It didn't even matter who was playing the Decade. You went to the Decade to hang out. Right. And the music was extra. It was always going to be good, but that's the kind of place it was. It was a place where you went because it was the Decade.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was, I miss it. And there hasn't been a club in Pittsburgh that's been as cool as it since it's gone.
Right. So tell me about the Borstal Boys. You started out as the Dirty Charms, didn't you?
Well, the Dirty Charms was a band before that, but that was me and Vinny. Were in the Charms with Bobby C and Angelo and Daryl. And then basically we were breaking up the Dirty Charms, and I went to do a solo album. And I started recording songs, and basically that solo album ended up starting the Borstal Boys because I dug all the people that I brought in to play on it. Like I brought in Joe Pileski to play keys. I brought in Patrick Norman from Rusted Root was playing with us. Vinny was still with me. And I brought in my old drummer from Torn and Frayed, which was Scott Wilson. And we started the Borstal Boys, and we started playing. We started recording at the Vault with Bob McCutcheon. He signed us to his label. We've put out 4 albums since we did this. or the fourth one is we released the fourth one in singles because it was like COVID after COVID, so we released one at a time, and we released probably 8 singles in a row. So that album's done, and we already got another album we're working on right now that'll probably be out by the end of this year. So that'll be our fifth album.
I thought I especially loved the songs on your first album. It was more of an EP. I loved the songs when you did them live. I thought you did them justice in live, and then Green Light was an awesome video. It's an awesome song. But then when you put out Crumbs, like that one, like hit me hard because I'm a huge fan of William Dell and the Wee Jams, and I think a lot of those songs would fit in with that vibe, and it made me so happy to hear that because I thought that was a huge step from the first EP, and um, and plus you're more of a mellower band, and it was nice to hear a couple rock songs on there.
Yeah.
Um, the the I love Little Heads Up. I love Don't Let Life Pass You By,
Uh-huh.
and then and then the Rust Belt is a great song, and Take the Wheel. It's not only a great song, but it's a great video.
Yeah.
And but I'm also an animal lover, and I currently have 24 animals. And I want you to tell us the story about 21 grams because it means a lot to me, more than anybody can imagine. I think anybody that listens to this story is going to be really impressed as well.
Well, it was. I wrote that song about my puppy. I always call my dogs puppies, no matter how old they are.
Of course.
Um, Her name was Abby, and I lost her. She passed away. She was 12 years old. She passed away, and every time I lose one of my dogs, it's the worst thing. It's the worst feeling in the world. And so I sat down and I was just starting to write something, trying to think of something, and I kind of there's this thing where they say that when you die, it they did a research thing, I think early 1900s or something like that. They put people, I guess they weighed them, and as soon as the person died, the body lost 21 grams in weight. So they say that that's your soul leaving your body. So I kind of wrote the song about that because they say that animals don't go to heaven, and the song is written, I guess, tongue in cheek, like they say you won't go to heaven, but I know 21 grams that are going to take you there. So the song's written about my puppy going up to heaven, and when I pass away, I'll end up there with her, with all the rest of
Absolutely.
the animals that I loved, or going to love in the future are all going to be there for me, because that would be heaven. If that isn't heaven, then I really don't want to go to it.
I
Um,
agree.
but that's I wrote the song about that. I wrote the song about about my sadness for losing her, and um, also about thinking about seeing her again. So the song is written about that. It's about saying that she was no God would ever create such a beautiful thing and then not include it into heaven if there is a heaven. So
I
that's kind
agree.
of where I went with the song.
So, um, I believe in rock and roll fate, and I have an iPod. I'm like living in the '90s. I still have an iPod, and it
Yeah.
has like 600,000 songs on my playlist. Not what it's all on the iPod, but on my playlist, and every single of my favorite songs are on it. And it was really weird because about 3 months ago, about 2 or 3 months ago, um, we made a decision to take one of the dogs to the vet and have her put down. And and then it was exactly a week later, another one had gotten sick, and I had to take her, and there was no saving her. And on the third one, um, it was like the third week, and it was like 3 weeks in a row, almost the exact same day. I put a third one down, and it was all three of my. You don't have any favorites, but I think they have favorites, and I think they choose between me or my wife. And these three were one of my favorites, and it was just really heartbreaking not only to lose one and two, but the third one. And on the way home from coming home from the vet, 21 grams came on, and that's like that's rock and roll fate, you know.
Yeah,
That's
I'm so
that's
sorry.
rock and
Bro.
roll
That's a
fate.
horrible. That's horrible. It is so hard to lose your. They're your best friend. You know, they
Oh yeah,
really are your best friend. They're there when you come home and everybody else is treating you like shit, or you're having a bad day or anything like that. They don't. They just. They're so happy to see you. They love you, and it just takes everything away. And I'm very sorry to hear that.
well,
That you had to do that, and that's horrible. That it was three of them.
yeah.
In 3 weeks. That is
It's
because it don't matter if it was 3 weeks, 3 months, or whatever. That each one of them hurts.
yeah,
It
it's
really
true.
does.
So then you have your new songs. That was Crumbs, which I think is a brilliant album, and I encourage anybody to order it, buy it, download it, or stream it, or whatever you have to do. I think it's worth listening to. And then your latest songs, "Need My Friends," "Partner in Crime." But I have to say, I love "Rock and Roll Freeway." I think it has a '70s rock vibe to it, and in some way, I hear a little bit of the Who in there. What's your story about the "Rock and Roll Freeway"?
Uh, Actually, "Rock and Roll Freeway" is a Vinny Q song. Um, he wrote the music, and Mark Ponsonby wrote the words to that. It's a harder song, but the whole album, Crumbs. I would say the reason why um, that was our second album. The first album, like I said, was a solo album
Right,
that I started, and then it turned into the band. The second album, we were playing together now for a year.
right,
Okay, so I think that's more of a whole band effort. You know what I mean? Like we started writing songs together because before it was just here's my songs, and I had people playing parts and stuff like that. And this was we were playing together for a year. We're playing live gigs, so everybody was tight with the songs. Everybody had gone through the process of what am I going to play on it. It wasn't just all like the first album was just they came in and here's the song, play on it, and they didn't play on it before. The second album was stuff that everybody's been playing for 8 months. So we were tighter as a band, and we were all contributing more. So I think Crumbs is if you want to listen to the band and see, I think Crumbs is probably what the band is as a band.
right.
Because then the next album it is as well, because we've been playing together for 3 years now as well. But Crumbs is, I think, is the point where we came together as a band for the first time.
Right. So I recently saw yesterday or the other day on Facebook that Joe's left the band.
Yeah, he got a job working in some power plant or something like that, which he's on call every day.
Right.
So he's not, and it's an hour and a half away from Pittsburgh, and he has to drive out there, and he's going to be moving out there as well
Right.
soon. Soon, I don't know if
So
he has.
that makes the Borstal Boys a two guitar attack.
Yes, it
Gonna
does.
rock.
And I think you'll probably hear more guitar oriented songs.
Good.
You know what I mean? Even when I go in the studio, I'll still add a keyboard. I'll get Hermie Granardi to come play on it, or if Joe's available, he might come in and play just on the recording or whatever. But I think the writing process it's gonna turn into a more guitar driven band.
Good.
Yeah,
That makes me happy.
yeah,
So you mentioned earlier that you're going to be. You and I have been trying really, really hard to get you guys into the Youngstown market,
yeah.
and that's sort of my hometown. And we finally got it. We finally, the band Noisy Mamas finally agreed. I mean, they agreed to have you guys open up, and you're going to have to bring your A game because live they will kill it. Like they are really good.
I can
And
imagine. Paul seems to be like a crazy guy. I'm sure
uh,
he's a good front man.
well, we've all aged, but back in the day, that was the place to be. Was at a White Noise or Noisy Mama concert, and there was nudity, craziness, drunkenness, everything.
I hope there's all of
Um,
that
well,
at the show.
again, we're all older now,
That's all right.
so
I'd like
uh,
some saggy
I
titty.
don't want to see no nudity. but uh, but anyway, you're gonna have to bring your A game, which I have 110% confidence that you guys will kill it, and I do think that a lot of the Noisy fans are going to love you guys, and I hope it opens the door for you to play there more often. That's always been the goal. So, but when like I always when I did my magazine, I always had a question that I asked every band, and I'd say, "Oh, what like when you're at a record store and you see all you're sitting there looking at all those CDs and they're all in alphabetical order." And I was like, what would you say that would make your CD stand out over top of all those other ones? And the same with your live performance. How would you describe your music, your CDs, and or your live performance compared to everything else that's out there?
Um, I always look for really cool artwork. And I tried to do that on all the single releases and stuff like that. I really look for that as far as what makes your CD stand out or whatever. I wish I could still make albums. Um, because the artwork I think is a very important thing in when you're listening to music. I miss the times where you hold an album and then you open it up and you got all the words
Oh
in there
yeah,
and stuff. Now everything's on the computer. And you pull up that one song. You don't have any lyrics for it. You don't know who played on it unless you go do some like investigating and stuff like that. But
right.
an album, it was right there. It gave you who played on it, who produced it, the lyrics, and there's artwork there. So I would say that for the CD. For us, when we play, I think people would enjoy us because we just have a good time. You can tell by our faces, we're always smiling because we're having such a good time. So we just enjoy playing music. One thing I've never done is in a band um, tried to do something that wasn't us because we wanted more people to show up or something like that.
Right.
Like playing a cover song. Like when I play a cover song, I always usually look for like the B side or a song that you never heard on the radio. So if I'm going to do a cover, it's going to be something that you don't even know that it's a cover unless you're a fan of that band and you know their catalog or something like that. So I just think we have a cool energy. I think we have good. I've always surrounded myself with good players, and I think we have a good time. And you could tell it by the way we're on stage, the way we act with each other and stuff like that. I said that about the faces. They're always smiling, hugging each other. We kind of do the same thing. I enjoy their company. I enjoy playing with them, and I enjoy playing live. And so I guess that would be it. I was never a fan of people who were mean on stage, where they didn't smile, where they kind
Right.
of look angry. It never. I guess that's why I'm not into that kind of music. When someone never smiles on stage and they look mean and they're giving you like a mean look, like while they're playing, it,
Yeah.
it, it never did it for me because music isn't supposed to make you angry. I guess I can see why they do it. I guess, but I enjoy myself on stage and I enjoy the company that I'm around. So I would say that's it. I think that our vibe.
And I will tell you that that I will tell everybody that's listening to this the bottom line is you have certain people that are in music for different reasons, and in my opinion, um, it has to be for the you have to do it because you love the music, you love doing it, and it all comes down to when I came to you and I said, "Hey, here I'm trying to book the Alice Cooper band to do a little side gig in a little club. We need equipment. Do you have professional equipment?" And you said, "Oh yeah." And then I said, I don't know, I'm paying the band a lot of money. I don't know if I can pay you. And you said, "We'll play for free. I don't care. I just want to play." And that rubs off so much with your performance, because you're not up there because you're going to get paid either good or bad. You're up there because you want to play and you love the music and stuff. And you know, I'm the first one that says that the band should get paid and get paid well. But you're at the mercy of how many tickets are sold, and it's like it's a what do you call it, the Bermuda Triangle. Everything has to fit perfectly, or you get sucked in, and it's not, it just doesn't work.
I mean, shows like that, you approached me doing that. I just wanted to do it because I like Alice. I've been a fan of Alice Cooper my whole life. I thought it was cool to play with those guys, and those guys were actually incredibly nice.
Yep.
All of those guys were incredibly nice. They talked to you like normal people. When I say normal, some people, they're a rock star and they really don't want to, they really don't treat you like a regular person. You know what I mean? And they did from the top. And especially show 2 and 3, that'll be between me and you because you know why. But those guys, all of them in show 2 or 3 were great. And they treated you very nice. And I remember, I'm blanking on the name, the guitar player, your boy.
Ryan Roxy.
Ryan. Me and Vinny were talking with Ryan, and Vinny was talking to him like, yeah, it must be really cool doing what you're doing, like playing with Alice and stuff like that. And he was like, dude, if I wasn't playing with Alice Cooper, I'd be doing exactly what you're doing. I'd be playing right here at this club to 80 people. And, just because if I wasn't in Alice Cooper, I would be doing exactly what you're doing, and it's understandable, and it shows you that he loves music and stuff like that. He caught a great break getting into that band, and he's rode that, and God bless him. And but he kept his I don't know if it's morals or whatever, but he's a down to earth guy, and he was extremely nice to everybody, and so was everybody. The drummer was fantastic. All those guys were really nice, man. Chuck was really cool with me. We sat there, talked about the amp and stuff like that. All that stuff was really cool. And I look forward to doing that show once again if they ever, if they're not scared of living their life and they want to go out and do another show. I would love to do one.
Well, I know I recently saw Ryan and Alice in Johnstown, and we briefly talked about it. And it's like, I don't think it's a matter of him not wanting to do it. It's just that
I know it's in the
he's
book.
not allowed.
Go out or something, yeah. But I think it's time to waive that, man. It's we're 3 years.
I agree.
Past,
I agree. But we're not the boss.
No, we're not. And I'm sure he's making more money playing for Alice Cooper than doing a side hustle.
Well, the funny thing is, I have a funny story for you, and I probably told you before, but at that time when he got that audition for Alice, he was supposed to be in New York Loose and with Bridget West's band.
Uh-huh.
And had he not gotten that gig, he would have been in with Bridget, and who knows where that would have led to also.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And
well, I think he took the right gig. I like Bridget West. I'm not going to say anything that bad there, but Alice Cooper is, I mean, it's like joining the Stones. You know what I mean?
If you ask Bridget, she would want to be an Alice Cooper.
Yeah, for sure.
She's a huge fan too. But anyway, so so I hope you I hope you well. And is there anything else you want to add to this?
No, I would just love everybody who's listening to this, watching this, come on out to that show. It is April 6th. Is that what it is, Paul?
Yeah. Yes,
April
sir.
6th. And in Youngstown. So please come on out to that. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a good time. I'm hoping a lot of people come out to that show. I'm looking forward to playing because we didn't play last year. We only played a couple shows and we did it with just one guitar because our guitar player wasn't there. And then toward the end of the year, our drummer had surgeries all year last year. So we actually just rehearsed the other night for the first time with the whole band in over a year. And
Good.
that was nice. And and that's going to be our first show. And so we will be ready to go for sure for that show. And it'll be a blast for us to get back up on stage. So really,
Yep. So, well, thanks a lot, Rocky. It was nice chatting with you, and we'll everybody get there to West Side Bull in Youngstown, Ohio, April 6th, and it's going to be a great rock and roll night of rock and roll.
yes, it
So,
will. Thank you.
thanks again, Rocky.